Hello, family. Welcome to another episode of Perspectives with Gwen. Today we've got Mr. Podcaster Extraordinaire, Mr. Penuel, the Black Pen. Yes, sir.
Woo!
Penuel.
Podcaster extraordinaire.
Yes.
Thank you for
very
the
popular on the
compliment.
socials, but I think we all know him from his podcasting platforms and his very intricate views, I would like to say, sometimes controversial. But thank you so much for gracing our platform with your presence. I find you to be very, knowledgeable across all spheres, if I can put it like that. I think you are very politically knowledgeable and aware. Also, business-wise, you are there. Socially, you are there. I'd like to know, how does one get to be so informed like you? And also, how does it feel like to be such a vocal person?
Sis Gwen Wakandlela.
Yes.
I'm honored to be here.
Thank you.
You're looking very regal, by the way. So shout out
you.
to your stylist, your makeup artist, and shout out to yourself, I guess. A few things I noticed, which I think are important for today's sit down, is number one, you are a proud Christian lady, which means I need to watch the things I say and be considerate.
Can you do that?
No, definitely. That's why I noted it, which means I can't be swearing and those things because of your audience. Number two, I don't think we have much time. I don't think you go for like really, really long. So I'm going to try and be like as concise as I can be. And number three, today's episode is very serious. So we'd normally chill back and try and crack a joke and tell you like a story. I'm going to try and really stay on topic today because it's a topic that's very close to my heart. It's something that I think is fundamentally important in South Africa for Black people and even globally. But I just want to say congrats, Perspectives with Gwen, what you've achieved. I'm really sad to hear that you're an auditor. Hopefully one day kuzolunga. Hey, auditing is life sucking, man. So as long as it pays the bills, as long as it pays the bills,
come for you, hey?
They can come for me. I was in auditing, so I'm basabi. They can go and audit my life somewhere out there.
He's the soldier that just fell off the bandwagon and left us in the dungeon like that.
Yeah, and you guys are probably one of the ripest industries to be taken over by AI, I believe, because with accounting software, I don't know how much of a need there's going to be for auditors moving forward. So good luck. I hope you guys pivot soon.
I think there's ways to work with the system, but we'll see how far it goes.
Good luck, nonetheless. At least you're diversifying to podcasting, Makshuba.
Is it safe?
Is what safe?
To diverse to podcasting.
Not from a financial perspective, but from a survival perspective. Yes. And looking at your brand, if you do go into Christian content, if you do go into female stories, I think there's a huge demand for that. We don't have like really, really impactful female podcasters. And we don't have a very big female audience that is into like hardcore educational conversations. A lot of the female audience is still very much about lifestyle, vlogging, makeup. They love the softer stories about, motherhood and, when I got married. I think there's an appetite for that. If you think of one of the biggest podcasters in America from a female perspective, Black female, it's Candace Owens. And she's hardcore. So I think there's a huge gap for that. So if you can marry the stuff that women love listening to and add like a punch, I think there's a gap. I think the best one I can think of in the country is Relebohile Mabocha. She's pretty dope.
The Conversation Capital, Ursula Mariani.
Ursula Mariani is very dope as well.
I see them. Yeah.
But I think they still a bit on the softer side, where Relebohile is not scared of like the harder hitting stuff. That's why I'm saying if you can marry both, that should be dope. But thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
You see why I said podcaster extraordinaire?
Nah, I'm just the guy that talks a lot.
Why are you acting all shy and humble? And
I'm a shy, humble guy.
Oh,
people don't know that about me.
I think you are quite popular on the podcasting streets and just on the social platforms in general. So I'm quite happy to engage with you and from your personality's point, because now when you are not humble, you are not shy. There's nothing shy of you.
Don't trust everything you see, read, hear on social media. I'm a very shy person. I'm a very shy person.
Okay. Let's get to our conversation, like you said, it's quite serious,
Yeah.
and I think it bothers me, and that's why we have you here, because one, you're quite informed about the system behind the system, and I'd like us to engage from that standpoint, but from a family space.
Yeah.
Especially the the black family. I'm black, so I think I'm more privy to the black family dynamics and how black people navigate family in general. Like if I had to ask you, and I'm saying you're quite informed in terms of the system behind the system. If I had to ask you who's the president of South Africa, you'd have a different answer than the layman. Am I wrong?
No, you'd be 100% correct. Who is the real leader of South Africa? I wouldn't give a typical answer here.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's very important and a privilege to have you discuss this topic, because I know your views and how vocal you are about them, and would love to hear them today. And please feel free to express yourself in whichever way it comes. Please feel free to share your mind and share your perspective.
Thank you.
Having said all of that, is there an agenda to destroy the black family?
So you've mentioned
systematically, so
yeah,
and otherwise.
So you've said you identify as black,
yeah,
and you have a soft spot for the black family.
More like a concern.
What would prompt you to be so vested in the concern around the black family dynamic to a point where you'd maybe want me to give my views?
Okay. So from my understanding of the family unit and the impact it has on society,
yeah,
it's quite concerning seeing where we are heading to in terms of creating or building families and what I would perceive to be ideal. I think there is a bit of a disconnect in terms of, I'm Christian, like you said, right? So in my understanding, there's male and female, and you come together in a nuclear family and you bear children. The Bible says, be fruitful and multiply. So God created male and female, and they came together and he said, be fruitful and multiply. So in my understanding, the ideal functional family in society is when a man and a woman come together for a greater purpose. And then they multiply in terms of offspring, but also they multiply in terms of that purpose having impact in society. Having said that, I'm not seeing that play out in a way that is beneficial for the black family or for the black male or female. I think the way we come together to do family or to do relationship is a bit concerning. We have indoda must, and what do you bring to the table?
Sure.
And in all of those dynamics and how we are navigating coming together as male and female to build is, for me, a bit concerning in a sense that, one, I think we can be very shallow in what we look for in each other, and we actually see the end result of it. One, we have now the baby mama, baby drama narrative. I don't want someone who doesn't work. I want a man that can buy me this and that, take me to Dubai. And I want a woman who is this and that. What do you bring to the table? So it's all those dynamics that those conversations that we are seeing and hearing out there, and we're seeing them play out. But I don't think I have seen enough productive nuclear families.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a bit concerning. And also, when I say systematically, is there an agenda to break down the black family unit? One, we know black people to be the most marginalized people.
Yes.
Coming from apartheid and now where we are, you find that we are the ones who are fighting each other more financially, socially. I want money from you and you want money from me, because now you are in a point where you're not making enough to take care of the both of us. And now the conversation is not about building the family, but it's more about what can you bring. And it's like we are fighting for survival, but we're still trying to build.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a bit of a concern. And it could be a systematic agenda that we are not aware of or that we are not privy to. It could be very subtle. It could be very, hidden to a point where we think this is normal or this is how life is, and that's it. There's nothing much we can do about it. Or there could be something that we could look into and say, hey, maybe there are gaps here, or there are influences here that we are seeing play out in our society that are not very beneficial for us.
Let's take it back to history. We would start farming 12,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, we were what's called hunter-gatherers. So we would forage and we would hunt. So foraging is climbing trees and getting fruits, digging in the ground for bulbs, vegetables and the like.
Yep.
And we would hunt, of course, animals. 12,000 years ago, human beings became more civilized, and we were like, well, we don't have to hunt the animals if we can domesticate them. So we started farming, and we became what was known as an agrarian society.
Yeah.
Now we don't have to go out and hunt and forage. Now we can actually grow the food ourselves. With the introduction of the Industrial Revolution in the 1700s, with the printing machine and textiles and mass producing, the dynamics changed. Now, mind you, in the agrarian society, having children was not only like a nice to have, it was a fundamental necessity. Because if we are farming, you need hands, you need labor.
Yeah.
So you start breeding, you procreate to have children. And the more children you have, the more productive your land can be. There was a huge advantage in having more children, male or female, whether they're herdsmen, shepherds, or it's girls that are working in the home, cooking or working in the fields. Even things like isthembu, polygamy, would make sense because your woman can only do so much. If I've got 100 hectares of land and it's just the two of us, we can only do so much. She could actually even have an incentive to go and find help and be like, Baba, I found wives for you so that we can work this land for the benefit of the family. The Industrial Revolution comes in and companies, enterprises start wanting to capitalize and make a lot of money. And in that, they realized now we're going to need labor. But labor was on the farms, working itself. And they needed to find ways to convince men in particular to leave their pieces of land to come and work in factories, in mines, etc. And they would come up with all these sinister ideas and ploys and plans to get the men out. In the South African context, that came with the British settlers, colonialism. They realized that we were fine. We were farming our cows, our goats. Our families were okay. And we had the nuclear family. Because where would you be going? I'm not traveling to Joburg to go and work on Ubanbani's farm because we've got our own.
Oh,
and we had communal land. So they imposed something called a hut tax. So 1700s Industrial Revolution, the hut tax would come in the early 1900s, I think in 1908 or something like that. And they would say everyone who has a hut has to pay money to the British government. We didn't have money. We didn't need money. And what we'd do initially is our harvest, our crops, we'd give that. They'd convert it into money, or our animals.
Yeah.
But not everyone was wealthy, well off in the village, in the places that we stayed. And they then used that to incentivize men to go and work in the mines, in the factories, normally far away from home. And that, in the South African context, became the first break up and split of the family. Because Ubaba was always there. We speak today about data of between 60 to 70% of black families, our father's not present.
Yeah.
Back then, you can't not have a father present because where is he going to go? Whereas today, your father could be anywhere in the country, maybe even in the world. So that becomes a South African context to take the men away. Now that they've taken the men away, we come to Joburg, we meet fine Hans, whatever the case may be. We start having girlfriends, wives here. We set up shacks. We maybe get industrial homes, whatever the case may be. And we start detaching from our families back home, who we send money to. And we start plowing that money here. And our women are left alone. Our children are left alone. If it's a bad season, if there aren't enough people, there aren't enough children, there isn't enough land, there isn't enough produce. So that becomes very ripe for someone else to come and be like, but your man's making money. Don't you think you should also get a job? And I mean, this guy's left you alone with children. And the seeds of what we'd call feminism, women empowerment, would then get planted in that, where now women want, to make their own money and want to do their own thing. When the women get taken out to go and work in the factories, to go and work as domestic workers for madam, no bas,
Yeah.
now the children are left alone. Where are the children going to go? From a global perspective, 1700s industrial revolution, it would be in the 1800s very early. Starting in Russia, I think with Lenin at the time. In America, there was a gentleman called Horace something. I forget his surname. They would formalize schooling. Because understand, you don't need to go to school. Many of the women, at least, where you learn to cook, you don't go to school. Where you learn to bake, you were taught by your mom or your gran or your aunt. A lot of the boys being herdsmen, washing the car, fixing the car, that's stuff that you learn from your dad. You don't go to school. So we were always had an apprenticeship type of education model where you would learn whatever's around. I know how to sit and how to know how to knit and sew because of Ukoko.
Yeah.
I know how to bake because my aunt used to do this. I know how to stick fight because ubaba nabafana. I knew how to herd cattle or cleanser because of the men in my village. They formalized schooling, but the formalization wasn't for the purpose of building your home. It was to serve this industrial machine. To this day, we still have schools that are like a factory. Grade 1, you must be 7 years old. Grade 12, you must be 18 years old. And then you must get your matric. Then you must go to it's like a factory model.
Yeah.
And it's such a twisted factory model that they have condoned where they push you on even if you're not fully ready just to get you out of the system. But it's largely because there's no one at home to watch you. Even the most well-meaning of parents today, dad has to go work, mom has to go work. There's no one to watch you, so you will go to school. And at school, they're not teaching you how to go and build an empire for your family so that your mom doesn't have to work, so your dad doesn't have to work. They're teaching you how to be good workers for the system.
Yeah.
To this day, politicians are still, the number one thing is we need jobs. We want jobs.
Yeah.
Why? Why is the obsession jobs and not, we want you guys to self-sustain. We want you guys to work your own land. We don't have that mindset, unfortunately. So from a systematic perspective, just summarily, that is how we got to where we are today. People would realize the power of destroying the family. They'd realize the power of infecting the female mind to see that men, are useless. Men aren't good enough. Men are, you can be a boss lady. You can be a female CEO. You can be whatever you want. You can be Oprah. You can be Michelle Obama. All these role models that get fed. So the media then gets used to give you all these role models. And if you look in the South African context, very scarily, the top female celebrities that get the most spotlight are not mothers, wives that are submitting to their husbands and building strong families. Just 2 days ago from when we're filming this, I posted an appreciation post on Twitter and Facebook, giving a shout out to Nandi Madida and Gail Mabalane.
Yeah.
I could add Selemina, Musase as well. There are a couple of them. These women who are great mothers, great wives. They are not showing their bums on social media. They are not going around with indoor damast. And, they are what we'd like to say from a biblical perspective, from an African perspective, these are good wives and good women. But they don't get the most spotlight. The women, and I won't mention their names out of respect for your platform. People can go and research, but if you look at the biggest female celebrities, a lot of them don't have children. A lot of them are not married. A lot of them are jumping from relationship to relationship. Some of them are supposedly breaking up homes and dating married men. And some have become baby mamas. They have children with this guy and that guy, but they're still killing it in the streets. They're still getting the MCing gigs. They're still getting the acting gigs. They're traveling all over the world. And everyone's like, you can be like this lady. You can be like that lady. And you're like, that's amazing. She's making money. She's super famous. But does she have a family? Does she have a home? Does she have children? Or is this going to be her legacy? Even, I'll mention her because she's not South African, even Oprah Winfrey. She's got a very sad story of being molested, etc. when she was a child. From a biblical perspective, Oprah's not married. She's got a life partner, Stedman Graham, and it's beautiful that at least they've been loyal to each other. Yeah. But she's not biblically, in the Christian perspective, married. She does not have children. She does not have like a family. Her family is Gayle King, her bestie, and maybe like Tyler Perry, who's also like a friend. But she doesn't have a family where you're like, I want to be like, at least Michelle Obama. have got husbands, Barack, and they've got children. But they also keep selling her as strong and powerful.
Yeah.
And at which point do you get to be a mom? And so the system as we currently have it has created a situation where even historically, we were taken away from our land. This is not just a Black African thing. You were taken away from your land, pushed into a factory or a mine or some workspace to earn as little as possible. Because I can't overwork you if I overpay you. If I overpay you, you'll work for 1 year, you'll be rich for 10 years. You're like, no, I'll come back in 10 years' time. So I have to underpay you. And after taking you out of the home, I left your wife, your woman alone. And then I went to go and convince her, because it was not women that convinced women to go and work. It was men.
Okay.
And it was white men that convinced Black women that your men are not doing the right thing. But we can give you jobs. Come and work in our home. Leave your children behind. Don't be a mother to your children. Come carry white women's children. Teach them, feed them, clean up after them, not your own children. And then from there, we'll take your children and we'll put them in these white created schools that are not about building the Black nation, the Black family, having lots of herds of cattle, learning your own languages. We're going to teach you the language that's going to get you a job in a white space to serve this white, we'll call it Western system, to make money, to underpay you. And now we've all bought into this thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think, from a Christian perspective, I'm not Christian.
Yeah.
I don't think that's what the Christian God wanted for man. To go and serve other men, to be underpaid, and to spend as much time as possible away from their wives and their children, to a point where today we have the dynamics that we have. And I think I'll stop there for now.
Okay. I think from that Christian perspective, the be fruitful and multiply, subdue the earth and have dominion, that principle is a man principle. So it's not only a Christian principle.
Yeah.
You find Muslims, you know, they have functional homes, but also they are very productive in the system.
Yes.
You have the Jewish family, very affluent in the system that we are currently under, but also their families, if you look at their families, they're also very pro-family and
100%.
pro-creation, but also they have a good balance. So my confusion or concern is, where did the Black family lose it and where are we not picking it up from? Because the Indian community was also marginalized at some point.
Yes.
The colored community was also marginalized at some point. The Afrikaner at some point. But you find that it seems as though the Black family is the one that's struggling the most to go back to where we left it off or where we fell off.
Yeah.
And pick up from there and build again.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're all building. Maybe is it a slow process? Do we need to be patient with ourselves? But in being patient to rebuild, what are we doing and what narrative are we selling? Like, we're going back to this, well, now we're stuck in the system where both of us must go out and work.
Yeah.
But where did we lose it? And are we really picking up where we left off and building intentionally?
It's actually getting much, much worse, to be honest.
I think it is.
Yeah. So where did we go wrong? We were invaded by colonizers. We did not have a perfect way of living. Anyone that thinks life before the Europeans got here was perfect, it wasn't. We had to deal with drought. We also fought each other over land, etc., etc. But our families were largely intact. We had a family-oriented type of mindset. The colonizers came in. They brought the money system. And the money system, you know, they say money is the root of all evil. Some people are like, no, it's the love of money, etc.
Yeah.
The modern money system is incredibly destructive. Because money used to be a tool of trade and a store of value. That's what it was initially designed for. But people the elites, I guess, that run the world, some of them that are evil, they realize that, no, this is not good enough. We need to infiltrate this system and get it to serve us. They added dynamics to money as a tool that didn't exist before. Things like interest, things like speculation. So your house was worth 1 million last year. All of a sudden it's worth 2 million. Where did the million rand come from? It came from thin air. Ideally, not even ideally, conceptually, the concept of profit is not a real thing. And then I guess just the concept of underpaying people for their time. So it was infiltrated in that way. And then I'll add inflation as well, where 100 rand at the beginning of the year is now worth 95 rand at the end of the year. And if your pay increase is not 5 rand, it's 3 rand, you're now worth less than you were the year before. So the money system has played a huge factor, because if black people were to de-link from the money system, the dollarized system today, and we were to go into maybe another form of valuation of time, of skills that served the black community, we'd have a different conversation. But there are people that will make sure that that doesn't happen at all. So the money system is a problem, but it was brought by colonizers. You use interesting examples that I normally use. When you look at the Muslim family in South Africa, when you look at the Jewish family in South Africa, when you look at the Afrikaner family in South Africa, they are doing well. So why not us?
Yeah.
They are great examples at a small scale. I do think a lot of black people need to look up to them. By looking up to them, you're saying Afrikaners farm. So let us farm and let's make sure that our women and our children are involved. Very beautiful. Muslims trade. They in business. A lot of the children, they study, they do very well academically, but their ambition is not, I can't wait to work for someone else. It's, I can't wait to work for the family.
Yeah.
We've got family businesses. The Jewish community, much the same, not just here, but around the world. The asterisks with these families that we use, these communities, is they are small. I think the Jewish community in South Africa sits at officially 70,000 people.
Really?
Yeah. If you look at them globally, they spread out around the world. I think there are about 18 million of them. They're comparable to the Zulu nation, but they spread out. It is much easier for me to make a lot of money serving 100 people if there's just one of me. So the Afrikaner farmers, the Muslim traders, the Jewish business people, they can generate wealth because they are selling to a majority that is not them. Black people are 80%. So even if we were to start small businesses and stop selling to each other, you cannot become rich. We can only start making wealth if we start exporting to other nations. So there's a caveat there that we have to consider, that if a black family like the Mutsipes wants to become wealthy, they have to concentrate their money in a small group of people. They can't spread it with everyone else. If we want to fix our families, we need to start looking into how do we work together. But we're so far from having those conversations, because besides the money system, besides colonialism, we have now got alcohol as a problem, alcohol abuse. We've got drug abuse as a problem. I mentioned some of these earlier, feminism and women empowerment, which were beautiful concepts. You know, if, for example, I was largely raised by a single mother. If my mom is struggling on her own, I'd like for her to go and work. And wherever she's working, she must be paid exactly the same as her male counterpart and not less than. And if my mom wants to be a pilot or a surgeon or wants to be president, why not? Why can't she do that? The problem is it's been weaponized, just like money, as a tool to now serve a certain sinister agenda, where even if your husband is providing, but don't you want to? Those same communities we're speaking about, the Muslims, the Jews, the Afrikaners, their women haven't bought into that mentality. But they can also say that because their men have not been stripped away from them and taken away. And outside of the Afrikaner community, not sure about the Jewish, but the Muslims, they don't drink. It's haram. They don't drink alcohol. So they don't have to worry about alcohol abuse as a concept. Their women still dress in hijabs. They cover their beauty because they feel it's according to the Quran. Of course, as Africans, we weren't covered like that, but we also didn't sexualize the female body the way we do now. So some of their principles, they've held very, very close. There are black communities that we actually should highlight that are still keeping to some of those values. the Shambe Church, Isonto Lama Nazareta, you've got the ZCC Church, the Zionist Christian Church. So they still have a lot of those principles. Where they maybe are falling short is from an economic perspective, which is where money is still sort of capturing them. I want to close off by saying this. The man and the woman are fighting each other. So Indo Damas, and you're saying, what do you bring to the table?
Yeah.
We've got money, problematic. We've got alcohol, drugs, problematic. We've got what I call women empowerment and feminism. And I don't mean them as concepts.
Yeah.
I mean them when they use them to get you to leave me, to judge, is he earning well? Don't you want to go and live there? But what car does he drive?
Yeah.
From that perspective, we're meant to be working together, but you're all about, but GBV and femicide, but you men are killing us. I'm like, but babe, I love you. I'm not killing you. Can we work together? No, go tell other men. Now we're fighting under this guise of women empowerment feminism. Where we are today, very scarily, is we are being made to devalue our children. Forget me and you now. Our children have become worthless. Our children have become liabilities. I took you back to agrarian, where the more children you have, the wealthier you have. I mean, even if you were to crack a joke about ilobolo, if I have 5 daughters, come on, umlojo has got daughters. Our children were valuable because they were labor, but not child labor and this rubbish that we've been taught. They added value in the home. It was a beautiful thing because if we've got cattle, they look after the cattle because it's our wealth. Our daughters would work the fields and bake and cook for the benefit of the family. Today we send our kids to school. We don't mind them playing sports at school. We don't mind them doing public speaking and acting in plays and serving the school at our cost. That's not child labor. But if you get your child to come and work for the family, like the Muslims do, where their children work in the shop, like the Afrikaners do, where the children work on the farm over weekends, that's now called child labor. We can't use our kids, but we have to pay for them at school. We pay for them at school, and medical aid for those that can afford it is incredibly expensive. So the idea of having a child is like a lifetime or at least a 20-year liability. It's like a bond, a very expensive bond, of which after 20 years, you don't have ownership over that child. You raised this child, you invested in this child so that they can go and work for the system and not for the family. So when women fall pregnant today, it becomes very scary. It's not something to be celebrated. We've got, in South Africa, I think the numbers are 260,000 abortions a year. That's over 700 a day. And the reason we abort is because we don't see children as valuable. You will not get a woman, a man wanting their cow to abort a calf. A calf is valuable. We value cattle more than we value children. You will not get a man, or rather, you will get a man fighting his ex-wife over cars that they have. We've got cars, I want half, I want a car, and we fight, and we go to court, and I'm angry. But a lot of men won't fight you if you're like, oh, I'm taking the kids. Okay, sharp. If anything, I hate the fact that you're going to be asking me for maintenance money. I don't want, because I don't see value in the kids. We have devalued kids in such a scary way that places like Europe, for example, are in a population decline. Japan also. I mean, places like Russia are incentivizing people to procreate, to have children. You know, women are allowed to knock off at work earlier. They've got some type of grant for couples to go away on holiday with the hope that they'll make babies.
Okay.
Yeah, in places like Japan, parts of Europe, they actually even encouraging people to move into the country if they are pro-procreation. We don't have that problem in Africa for now, but it's a socio-economic dynamic.
Yeah.
Because for poor people, for them having children, they don't have to worry about raising those kids. They get child grants, 530.
Yeah.
The children get free schooling, free healthcare. So unlike us, more middle class, rich, they don't carry the burden of a child, because if they did, they'd also abort. Because children, like I said, are deemed worthless. The world currently needs 2.7. I know it's a weird number, but let's say 3. They need couples to make 3 children. to keep the global population from collapsing, from going extinct. Europe is currently at 2.1. Elon Musk speaks about this and people are like, it's because we've got lots of kids. And obviously we get laughed at about Nick Cannon and whatever.
Yeah.
LGBTQI+, I'm not going to speak about it as a conspiracy today, but I'm going to speak about a community where a lot of them don't want to have children. I'm homosexual, I'm trans, I don't really want kids, I'm okay. You've got a lot of women today. It is very costly to your career to be a mom because it means you can't travel any given time. It means they can't ask you to work long extra hours. It means you can't commit, which is partly why I was saying a lot of our female celebrities are not mothers because the idea of being a mom, my waist, I've already got a BBL, it's going to ruin my body. I can't get my shoots in. I can't travel because now I've got this burden of children. So you've got people that are not having children. Those that are falling pregnant are aborting contraceptives before we even think of falling pregnant, of which a lot of the contraceptives are destructive to fertility the day you want to fall pregnant. A lot of them have side effects, depression, potential suicide, other health impacts, which pharmaceuticals won't tell you. But if ever we start seeing a rise in things like maybe cancer, women having migraines that don't make sense, other illnesses, it's because of some of this medication, which is telling your body, even though a man is planting a seed, your body's going to destroy that seed that they've planted. What else is it destroying inside you? Robots are coming. Artificial intelligence is coming. I obviously cracked a joke about auditing, but if we no longer need auditors, it means, well, you don't need to have children because we don't need auditors in the future. But what about the influencers? Well, we've got AI influencers, and you can get them black, colored, Indian, whatever you want, in whatever language, but they're AI generated. People are buying prostitutes. We're going to get to a point where sex dolls are going to have robotic in them. So it's going to feel like you're with a real person when you're not. Already women are using gadgets, dildos and the like. So they might be like, I don't really need a man and it doesn't satisfy me like my gadget. We are getting to a point. There's a movie called Demolition Man with Sylvester Stallone, Sandra Bullock, Wesley Snipes, where in the future, men and women don't even touch each other. To gain pleasure, they put on virtual reality goggles. They don't have children because they don't need to. And if ever society needs children for whatever reason, maybe in the Matrix, they use them to power as an energy source, which means they keep them in a cage or a glass case.
Oh, yeah, I think I've seen that.
Yeah. We'll just make them in an embryo. Like we make test tube babies now. Can we get some of your eggs? Can we get some sperm? And once we can make synthetic eggs, synthetic sperm, it's like, oh, you don't have to worry. It's okay. So if we're not having children, that means we're not going to have families. So what is there to even worry about saving the family if there's no family to even think about in the future? And the elite have found ways to be like, the robots do everything. I don't need a domestic worker. I've got a robot. I don't need the black man to come and mine. I've got robots for that. I don't need black people who are brilliant at singing and dancing and entertainment. We've got virtual reality, digital creators now. I mean, gaming now is $1 billion industry.
Yeah.
And it's because people are playing games. But what happens when you're like, but do we need people to play the games or can the games play themselves? And we just watch that. Do I need to watch guys playing rugby or can I watch digital avatars playing rugby against each other? And if I want it to be bloody, can be bloody. If I want there to be females involved, I can do whatever I want. So we're moving in a future that's incredibly scary. And we are not having the right conversations about the future. But before we even get to that future, we're not having the right conversation about where we are now.
Yeah.
And the idea of a woman falling pregnant is something so scary and frowned upon to this day. And the idea of having 3 kids is a lot.
Yeah.
But 3 kids just means you've replaced you and your husband and you've just added 1 extra child. That's all. So yeah, I think I'll stop there for now.
Okay, maybe someone can argue and say, well, we do have families. What do you mean? What do you actually want us to fix? So I want to get to the part of discussing what quality of family in your perspective do you think would breed the society we like or we want to get to? I'll go back to scripture. We had Adam and Eve, and God instructed them to be fruitful and multiply.
Yeah.
So you have the male and the female bearing fruit. You are productive in something before you can reproduce. Then when you reproduce, you are reproducing after your own kind, which is fruitful or productive, which is a value add in society.
Yeah.
So if someone is looking at the family unit and how family, because I think it was you or someone else who said we don't actually need politics. We need to build strong families. We need to bring strong societies.
Yeah.
Then we won't need politicians to help us or to rescue us.
Yeah.
So in your ideal world, what family structure are we looking at if we want to get to a society that is conducive for us as Black people and as a people in general?
Yeah. Yeah, my views are probably contrarian and different from most people. Because I did want to say that there are conversations we're not having.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason we can't have them is because we've been taken away from each other. Politics is incredibly powerful and the media is powerful. Politicians cannot be strong when families are strong. If you look at Muslim, Jewish, Afrikaner families, they are not puppets or zombies of whatever our government decides. They are, if we were to call them puppets of zombies of whatever their belief systems and their mandate is. If it's the Christian Bible or the Quran or the Torah, that's their guiding principle. So government can say children from the age of 12 can start having sex. Children from the age of 12 can abort without parental consent.
Yeah.
If they don't believe in that, they don't follow that. They can listen to government saying, we need more jobs. If they say we are not about jobs, we are about building family farms, we are about building family enterprises, that's what they focus on. Black women, ordinary women, poor women are plugged into a matrix on social media of BBLs, of twerking, of smoking hubbly, of wanting to go to Dubai, of wanting to get a blesser, of wanting to be snatched on fleek, etc. They follow a script. And I see a lot of children today are zombies to TikTok. Same thing.
Yeah.
You literally plugged into a system. Young boys who are struggling to get jobs because there's that fight as well between we need more female employees, which means I don't get a job, so I end up hating you. Meanwhile, it's got nothing to do with you. But tomorrow I must pay lobolo for you. Tomorrow I must build a home, but you earn more than me, so it doesn't make sense. A lot of the boys are angry, so they follow your Andrew Tates, your Jordan Petersons, your Kevin Samuels, may he rest in peace, and they building this hate. Yeah, the thing about women is, they're just baddies, but we're just fighting. But they also plugged into like a TikTok, YouTube, Instagram place. That is, they're not even having the conversation about family or the thought. And then we're disconnected from our children. Those of us that are a bit older. We call some of them Mama 2000. I don't really understand your music. These kids, we're not talking to them. They're not listening to us. Oh, mom listens to this boring gospel. She goes to church. I don't go there. My dad goes to the tavern or it's Ishisanyam. We're so divided, but we're plugged into these systems that are putting us in silos. And we generally don't like each other, hate each other. We judge each other. We also judge our elders in various ways. And we are serving systems that don't care about our health, our peace, our happiness. I think at the end of the day, outside of everything, that's what human beings are generally chasing. Inner peace, happiness, whatever you define happiness as, and health. Physical, spiritual, mental health. And at least from a nature perspective, even outside of humans, when you look at animals, that tends to exist when there's a man or a male creature, a woman or a female creature, and offspring who are being productive, as you're saying. Be fruitful. Before you get to the children, are you working the land? A lot of us are not working the land. We're not even working virtual land in technology on websites. We're abandoning land to come and overpopulate cities and we're leaving the land. We're not working it at all. We don't have skills. We go to school for 12 years. We go to tertiary for another 3 to 5 years, 17 years. And we've got these pieces of paper, but we don't know how to look after chickens. We don't know how to plant seeds, where to get seeds from. We don't know how to fix a car. Young girls don't know how to look after babies. Grown women don't know how to deliver a baby. Delivering babies was not meant to be done by a hospital. It's a natural thing. Animals don't go to a hospital to deliver babies, but we need to go to a hospital. That's how we've plugged into a system that doesn't make sense. We don't know how to grow our own food. We don't know how to look after our own children. We don't know how to communicate with our children. We've got nothing in common with each other. I've got nothing in common with you. You've got nothing in common with our child. Same. We are these three weird entities. So at some point, we're going to drift apart, which is why we get divorced, we fight, we whatever. I love nature, so if I were to give advice, I'd say we need to go back to how we used to live. We need to have the hard conversation and we need to be less civilized, I guess, if you were to put it, because it means going backwards. Mom doesn't really have to cook and bake. We can just order Uber Eats, Checker 60, whatever. And you're like, mom baking and us being there with her means we are bonding. It means she's working with her hands. And she's saying, I need wheat that you guys are growing as the family. And we need the children involved. It's not necessarily in a fast-paced society in the cities, but again, if you're chasing inner peace, happiness, and health, it's almost the only way. And we need to maybe go back to our belief systems, whatever they may be. From an African perspective, this is one of the criticisms that I've got. I do not think, I believe you and I were both raised Zulu.
Yep.
I do not think that you can be Zulu and Christian.
Okay.
I think you need to choose one. And I do not believe that you can be Zulu and Christian and bow down to the money system. It means you are serving three different gods. And I believe you need to choose one. If you choose the Christian, that's okay. That means don't slaughter for ancestors. Because Jesus was crucified for you on the cross. He is the ultimate sacrificial lamb. Why are you still slaughtering for your ancestors? Your ancestors are in heaven with God, and Jesus is your savior. So you pray to him, you believe in him, and you repent and you'll be fine. You don't need to slaughter. If you are Zulu, you're not worshiping some, according to black people, some whiteified Jesus Christ from Nazareth in places you don't know, who's got his own ancestors. Abo Noah, abo Moban Labo. Tina says abantu bagiti.
Yeah.
And when you speak about Amadlozi, you're speaking about people that connect you to your higher power. Thixo, Mvelinqangi, uNkulunkulu, whatever the case may be. If you're serving a money as a god, or the money system, the central bank, the South African Reserve Bank, the central bank in London, the Rothschilds and the Medici who formalized money. Of course, the day you're meant to go to church and serve your Jesus and your God, your boss is going to say, Gwen, you need to come in. We haven't finished these reports. And now you have to choose which God you're serving. And on that same Sunday, your dad is going to call you and be like, hey, konum sebenzi la endlini. You know, stinga utshwala, stinga what. And now you have to pick. These are three different gods that you're serving. It is not by accident that you've got a successful Muslim community that prays 5 times a day, that on Friday, I am making a killing. It's month end. I'm making so much money. They close their shops. They go to mosque because they're like, we are not going to worship money. We worship Allah. We abide by the Quran. We will close the shop. Similarly, Christians would do the same in places like Easter. You shut down everything. You're like, we're not going to operate. We are going to, the Jews, I think, take Saturday off, I think the Sabbath, I'm not sure. They don't work. I've met Jewish billionaires. They don't work on those days. They're not on their cell phones. They're like, don't contact me. I will not be working. That is my day of rest and my day of worship. So people are going to have to sit down and decide what they are worshiping, what their belief system is. And once you figure that out, then ask, what is family in that? setting? Is it a woman submitting to me as a husband? Which means come Saturday, I'm saying as a family, this is where we're going. No, but my boss said, I'm your husband. Yes, husband, I hear you. I will explain to my boss that unfortunately my husband has said for the benefit of the family, not for him. He's not my God. He is following God's instruction. He bows down, he submits to God, and I submit to him. But it's God's plan. So I'll tell my boss, I know, unfortunately, my family, we're not going there. If you are Zulu or whatever cultural following, you whatever cultural belief you follow, you'll abide by that. And that will then define where you're going and what you're doing. And you won't have to compromise yourself. As I said when I started, where our family got broken up started officially probably with the Industrial Revolution and modern schooling. Because then we were taken away from believing, supporting, worshipping our beliefs, working the land, working for our families, to serving a money system that was corrupted to where we are today.
It's a lot to take in.
Yeah.
It's a lot to take in. But I think it's conversations that we need to keep having. And maybe in almost closing, there's a quote you like posting: fix the family or die trying.
Yeah.
How do we go about fixing the family? And maybe as a 29-year-old and a 35-year-old, where do we start and what conversations should we be having to fix this family?
Yeah. So that line obviously comes from Curtis Jackson, 50 Cent, Get Rich or Die Trying.
Yeah.
Which I guess then for him would mean that money is his God, right?
Yeah.
I'm willing to die for money.
Yeah.
Get rich or die trying. Nelson Mandela would tell his, famous speech about it is an ideal for which I'm willing to die.
Yeah.
The black domination and white domination. So he was speaking about political freedom in our lifetime, and people were killed. People died. We can mention about Steve Biko. He died later, but Robert Sobukwe, Abo Chris Hani, Solomon Mahlangu, when the students of 76, Abo Hector Peterson, were marching against Afrikaans as a medium of instruction. People died for our political freedom.
Yeah.
Which was not meant to be freedom to vote, by the way. I know we've been misled and miseducated. It was freedom to have our own land back so that we can go back to being who we were, Abantu, in this country, but we lost it. There are many wars that we are fighting today. A lot of people speak about spiritual wars. Yeah. And it's difficult to actually define what spiritual means because it's such an abstract word. But someone once said to me, spirituality is nature. So a spiritual war means you're fighting nature. So part of it is, how am I living today that goes against nature? Who is forcing me to go against nature and why? Maybe my last point is the EFF would speak about economic freedom in our lifetime, which I don't think they're working towards, because if they were, they wouldn't be focusing on politics. They'd be focusing on building businesses and enterprise for the people they claim to represent. That's what economic freedom would mean, not politicking. Fix the family or die trying means defining what you stand for, your belief system. I'm Zulu, I'm a Christian, I'm Muslim, I'm Jewish, whatever. And then from there, looking at your family, immediate, extended. Is it intact? Is it broken? And how can I fix it? Same way, we're poor. I want my family to be rich. How do I fix it? I need to go and study. I need to start a business. I need to get rich. I need my family to come and work. I need us to have shares in the business, etc. From a family perspective, with the spiritual wars, it's where did my family get it wrong? Number one, were my mom and dad married?
Yeah.
Were they married under Christian law? Were they married under Zulu law? If they weren't, how do I fix that? My extended family, my immediate family, do I have children with the woman I'm no longer with?
Yeah.
Am I living with my children? There's an ideal that you're meant to strive for. And are you willing to fight and maybe even kill for it? And this one maybe takes it a bit dark. Are you willing to fight, colonize, potentially kill your family members that are not going to put the family first? Because we were oppressed, exploited, forced to believe in things that were not ours, that were not serving our family. They would serve the British family, which is why their family is still wealthy to this day. Today we serve political families in government. We serve economic families who are the wealthiest in the country. But it's at the expense of our own families. We leave Durban.
Yeah.
We leave Newcastle. Our families, our homes, to be here. We don't share information with them that would build them. We're not taking our money to send them to school and educate them. Because we are so different. How you fix the family is finding one belief system. Even if it's an immediate family. Your husband, ukholelwe emadlozini nesintu. You are a child of the Most High. You believe in Jesus. That family will never work. You guys can try and keep it together for 50 years and celebrate. But I can tell you now, that family will never work. It will always be broken, even if you're raising children there. You guys are meant to find one belief system. And then number 2, find an economic system. Now that you've decided that we are going to be a Muslim black family from KwaMashu, and all of us follow the Quran and everything must be halal, now what is our economic system that we all share? Do we all want to be farmers? Do we all want to run businesses? Do we want to own spaza shops? Do we want to own amatex? Do we want to own shares and trade? What are we actually doing as a family? And then importantly, geographically, what is our plan? Are we all going to be in one place? Or are we going to be scattered in different places, but we connect at different times? 4 times a year, no matter what's happening, we all have a pilgrimage to KwaMashu, where we all gather and we share information and knowledge and money and resources. And then we go back to wherever we're plying our trades because we've got a plan. And the people that are willing to do that are going to have strong families, rich families. And the people that are not willing to do that are constantly going to find themselves at the mercy of serving other families. That's why we wear clothing brands, international luxury brands, where you are boasting an Italian family, a German family. You drive cars that are boasting families from Japan. The company that you work for, you go around beating your chest, I work at. That is a family business. You are wearing the clothes of a family name. You are driving a car of a family. You are voting for a family. And when we look at your bloodline, where you come from, those people are actually, if anything, your enemy. And you have been co-opted into serving other people's families that you now become one of the oppressors of your own.
Sure.
So until we get that right, and if we're willing to die trying, we're not going to win. I'm in a situation now, just to close off, and this is something I decided I'm going to speak much less about on social media, because social media is toxic and it doesn't have a spirit of building. I think the algorithms are designed like that. I've got 7 children from 5 mothers, and people know my story and they can criticize me. They are well within their rights. Whether you're Christian or African, criticize me. But I'm at a place where I'm like, I would love to minimize the damage that I have caused. And research, where did it go wrong with my parents, my grandparents, my extended family? Where did I go wrong? My own accountability. Where did the mothers of my kids go wrong? Because now they could have been like, no, I won't have kids with you until you marry me. Yeah. They also made their own mistakes. I'm not judging them, by the way. We made adult, mature decisions at the time. But it's me just trying to say, in terms of the future, where did we all go wrong? Especially myself. How do we try and minimize the damage for our children? Yeah. My children at the very least, and say, listen, if you guys want healthy families, don't make my mistakes. Don't make your mom's mistakes. Don't make my parents' mistakes. This is how you get it right. And then have a plan and say, this is what I'm going to try to do to fix my family or die trying. And if I fail, it's okay. But when my grandchildren, great-grandchildren ask me questions, I can tell them, I know exactly where it went wrong and why we're here. And this is how you can fix it. And maybe you're better than me. Chief Langalbalele Dube, Chief Albert Lutuli, John Langalbalele Dube, Pixley Guy Sakaseme, all of those guys died without seeing the South Africa we have today. But they were willing to die trying for political liberation. There are people I hope today that are building businesses and to say economic freedom in our lifetime. And Bazof, or Dr. Richard Maponya, or Dr. Sam Mutswenyane, etc., who are going to say, Sazama, we don't have Cork, an African bank, and Maponya holding Sahulega. And we'll be like, these were the people that tried to get us some of these things. And Nati, at least me, I'm saying, with all the noise, politics and religion, and what if you were to just fix your family? Because I promise you, if you can fix your immediate and some of your extended family, there is no money system, no religious system, no cultural system, and fake king somewhere, no technology that is going to be able to destroy this core. Because every powerful society historically was built of strong families. And if you can build strong families, no one can touch you guys.
Sure. We need part 2. There's so many things, so many questions that just keep coming up, and they kept coming up as you were speaking. But in respect of time, your precious time, I would like to thank you for gracing the platform with your presence and also sharing such invaluable information. I believe it's a conversation that needs to keep going. And I think where you are in terms of discussing the family dynamic and also how we can fix family, please keep going. I know you've got your family dynamics that you also like to share with us, and we are so privy to such personal information that's happening with your family and your family dynamics, and we appreciate it. Some of us appreciate it because there's always something we can learn from the next person. Some people make mistakes so that certain people don't make the same mistakes. So thank you so much, and all the best in your platforms. If you don't know Penuel, I don't know where you watch your news and your podcasts, but he's all over social media. Do you mind sharing your platforms and also your podcasting platforms?
No problem. Hey, Sis Gwen, Sis Wagwamash, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honored to sit with you. I wish your platform nothing but the best. But outside of your platform, I wish your life. I hope it is an instrument for inspiration and enlightenment for so many people out there. So thank you very much for the invite. At God Penuel on Twitter, at God Penuel on Instagram, Penuel the Black Pen on TikTok, Penuel the Black Pen on Facebook. My YouTube is, I'm on Convo and I'm on The Penuel Show. But the easiest thing is just, if you type on Google search Penuel the Black Pen, everything shows up. I'm very, very easy to find. So thank you.
Okay. When he comes back, we'll discuss why he only wears black and why he calls himself Penuel the Black Pen and why he believes that he is God.
Boom.
Stay tuned. Till next time, it's much love from me to you. Goodbye.